Hey Sportsplex fans, Kurt Lockhart here with Mid10 Nutrition and the Transformation Lab. And we're going to talk today a little Q&A as it relates to nutrition for endurance training. So it's that time of year. We got the marathon coming up in April. We've got triathlons, duathlons later in the summer. And now's really the time of year that people are starting to ramp up that training, starting to kind of build that base for participating in some of these events later in this year. So let's jump right in. Let's get to the questions. The first one that I have is, what are two of your top tips when it comes to nutrition for endurance training? All right, so tip number one that I have is really to know your output. So we have to understand, as we ramp up this training or as we're starting to prepare for this race, what does that mean in terms of our additional calories burned? Now, it's not necessarily something you have to track to a T, but getting a general idea of what your body's burning will really help you on the fueling side as far as being able to put that back in nutritionally and help make sure that your recovery and performance continues to stay strong. So I'm going to throw up a link on the screen. This is a good example of a calculator you can use. This uses what's called the metabolic equivalence methods to give you a pretty good idea of the pace you're running, the size of your body, how many additional calories your body might be burning during each of these training sessions. We do a lot of exercise, a lot of VO2 max testing here at the lab, and it's not uncommon for a pretty average-sized individual at 150 pounds or so to be burning anywhere from 600 to 800 calories in a 1 hour training run, and that's really only maybe moderate high, depending on the individual intensity. So it's important to note that this could cause us to need additional snacks throughout the day, could cause us to need to put in some additional calories, but we don't know that until we know what our body's burning. You can also use an activity tracker if you like, and there's a little bit of variance in those, but we're really just looking for an estimate to figure out, hey, how can I fuel my body more optimally? So that's tip number one. Tip number two is, do not do anything different on your race day than what you have done in your preparation and in your training. So I say that specifically in regards to what you're eating, what supplements you're taking. A lot of times when people get to race day, they decide to try a new supplement, or they pick up something that they've got out there on the course. Or maybe they eat this super special meal, leading up into the event, and it's a lot of stuff they don't typically eat. One of the quickest ways to drop off performance is to consume something, whether it's a supplement or food, that may impact your digestive function. So if we're getting bloated, we're getting cramping, easy way to drop off our performance. So make sure whatever it is that you're doing on race day, that you've at least tried it during a training run and that you know that it reacts well with your body. Right, question number two is, what are the best foods to eat before and after training sessions? So just continuing on with our discussion, really the first thing that we want to make sure of is whatever we eat before workout is something that's not going to impact us during the workout on a digestive front. Because if our stomach's upset, we're getting cramping there's no way we're going to perform at our peak. So even though it's great throughout the day, I generally recommend our clients to limit their fiber intake in the meal or snack directly before they go in and start doing their running or their workout. The reason being is that fiber is more digestive resistant, so it can be a little harder to break down and won't really provide that immediate fuel source going into the workout that we'd like to have. So really for that pre-workout, usually about 90 minutes or so out is a good range for this. We're looking for simply a good complex carbohydrate source and a good lean protein source. Now once we've gone through our workout, we're on the recovery side, right? We want to bring that body back as quickly as possible. And during the run, we've probably broken down a little bit of muscle fiber. We've also definitely depleted some glycogen, or some of our body's energy store. So, not really unlike the pre-workout range, we want to put that right back on the post-workout range, and we want to get some sort of protein. This time it's okay to get a little bit faster acting protein source, and then some sort of carbohydrate source. Again, something a little bit faster acting is okay here because we're depleted and we want to bring that body back, help with restoration of energy and the start of that recovery process. Now, some people choose to do like a shake or liquid calories after workouts, and that works great. You can also do it through whole food, more of a whole food type of meal. But ultimately, at the end of the day, and honestly, we'll even have some athletes do both. They'll do both a shake and a meal, because as we talked earlier, one of the challenges is getting enough calories in to fuel that type of training. But really, at the end of the day, making sure that we're sandwiching those workouts with a good protein and carbohydrate source will help make sure we have optimal results. The one exception I do want to point out to this is if you're training first thing in the morning, you may not be eating before you go out and do a training run. Now that's okay, and there's plenty of alternative approaches to that, one of which would just be using something like an amino acid supplement to provide some of the benefits without having to take in a full meal that your body would need to digest and break down. Okay? So let's go on. Question 3 here. What are supplement options that can aid in performance? So this is really our specialty at Mid10, and even though supplements are what we do, I think it's really important to note that for endurance athletes, I really like to keep it very simple. Endurance athletes aren't going for things that'll be, a 1 rep max or something that's particularly powerful or explosive. We're trying to build endurance. We're trying to be able to consistently perform over time. So we take a foundational approach, meaning that our first tier is just making sure total calories are met. So if you're somebody who's not able to meet their total calorie needs, then you may want to add like a meal replacement shake that would give some additional protein, carbs, maybe even some healthy fats in there as well to help get up to the calorie demands that your body's expending. The other thing on the foundational level I see a lot with endurance athletes is joint pain. We're constantly pounding the pavement. Inflammation is oftentimes greater. So I'm a really big advocate of using a joint supplement and a fish oil to help combat some of that inflammation and just help to assure that those joints are staying healthy throughout the training. Here's an example of a fish oil product right here. With the fish oil, we just want to make sure it's a good high potency fish oil. So when I say high potency, you guys will be able to see it on there, but I'm looking for something with a good amount of EPA and DHA. So generally we recommend between 1,800 milligrams and 3,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA. Doesn't matter too much what the label says on the front. What we want to do is break it down. Those are the long strains of omegas that they do all the research with as it relates to inflammation. Other supplement that I mentioned here is a joint type supplement. These are actually 2 different examples right here. We have in my right hand a more traditional glucosamine based supplement, and in my left hand we have a cissus based supplement. So cissus is more of an herbal supplement. Actually some good new research out with cissus as far as athletes and joint pain. We've had good success with both those. So I recommend find one that you like, stay consistent with it. That's what really matters. And then of course we're combining that with our fish oil for a really nice healthy joint and inflammation function. Now, once we get that foundation set, really the next layer up from there would be to look at our performance. So as we start to get into these longer runs, training runs into competition, our body starts to become more depleted. So In this category, we may look at adding a mix of amino acids, possibly branched chain amino acids and even some essential amino acids, along with a carbohydrate or carbohydrate replenishment. And that could come in the form of liquid, could come in the form of goo gels, could even be a solid, just really depending on what works for you out on the course. So we've supported that, and really that's when it comes to endurance training, that's 95% of supplementation success, filling in our foundation, taking care of that workout support. There are a few things at the very pinnacle. We call that the optimization section. Some ingredients like hygienamine, which can kind of help open up airways, act as a bronchodilator. Things that may be worth exploring, some adaptogens, which can help with training stress. But ultimately, it really is done, through diet and then through these bottom two tiers, making sure everything's all synced up, and then you can kind of explore once you get there. So that's all I got here for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. My contact info is here on the bottom of the video. Don't hesitate to reach out if you guys have any questions, and good luck prepping.